Attention passionate Green Bay Packers fans. Latest news, something big is happening in the NFC North and it could change the game. We're talking about a direct impact on Green Bay Packers' path to another Super Bowl run, a power shift that could leave a division rival stumbling for years. We're bringing this to you firsthand. But before that, if you're a true Green Bay Packers fan, subscribe to the channel to strengthen this passion even more. Show that you're also part of this family. Let's help each other reach 1,000 subscribers. Share with your friends and Green Bay Packers fans. Let's get to the news now, folks. If you've been watching the NFL news cycle lately, you already know that the Green Bay Packers are entering a critical phase of their offseason. The excitement is palpable, but so are the concerns, especially when it comes to injuries. Just seconds into the preseason, the Packers faced a bit of a jolt, a penalty on special teams and a dropped pass. Nothing too surprising, right? That's just preseason jitters, but what's more worrying is what's happening on the sidelines and with the roster in general. Right now, the big story that's grabbing everyone's attention is the injury status of their wide receiver Jayden Reed. Reed, who looked promising last season and was expected to be a vital part of the Packers' offense this year, is dealing with a foot injury that has kept him out of the first game of the preseason. And it gets more concerning because just recently, Carson Fowler from WRFE Local 5 posted a picture of Reed with a walking boot on his left foot. That image alone sends shockwaves through the Packers fanbase. It's never good to see a player in a walking boot, especially someone whose role could be crucial in the upcoming season. Now, let's back up a bit and understand the context here. Reed had some issues earlier in training camp, particularly with his toe. Matt LaFleur, the Packers head coach, initially thought it was just a minor issue, possibly caused by his cleats. That seemed manageable at first, especially considering Reed had been practicing well after returning from that toe injury. But then, suddenly, he's spotted in a boot, and that raises questions about how serious this new injury might be. Is it related to the toe? Is it a different injury altogether? Those questions are exactly what fans and analysts are asking right now. It's important to remember, injuries are part of the game, especially during the summer grind of training camp and preseason. But for the Packers, who have already seen some key starters sidelined, this adds a new layer of concern. Xavier McKinney, the All-Pro safety, is also out due to injury, so the Packers are already dealing with some significant absences. And now, with Reed possibly sidelined for a while, the depth at wide receiver is being tested even further. The team's roster at the wide receiver position is pretty deep, with guys like Christian Watson, who's still working his way back from that torn ACL, and other young players trying to make their mark. But Watson's recovery is a process, meaning they're relying heavily on the other guys for now. Wicks and Williams, the rookies, haven't missed much time, and the hope is that they'll be ready to contribute once the season kicks off. Still, the uncertainty around Reed's injury looms large, especially when you consider how much he could have contributed to the Packers' offensive game plan. His ability to stretch the field and make plays after the catch makes him an exciting weapon, and losing him, even temporarily, could impact how the Packers approach their upcoming games. What makes this situation even more delicate is the timing. The Packers are in the thick of training camp, trying to solidify their roster, chemistry, and game plans for the regular season. Every practice, every preseason game is a chance for players to show their worth and for coaches to evaluate talent. A setback with Reed means more than just missing a few reps. It could affect his readiness for the start of the season. Especially since he's coming off an injury earlier in camp, it's natural for fans to be cautious. The team's medical staff and coaching staff will be monitoring his recovery closely, and we know head coach Matt LaFleur will be pressed by the media about Reed's status in the coming days. Now, everyone is hoping this is just a precautionary move, perhaps a minor tweak that requires rest and recovery, rather than something more serious. But the reality is, the preseason is a critical period for players to build chemistry and get into game shape. Losing a player like Reed could hinder those efforts, especially since offenses often need time to gel when new pieces are added or when players are returning from injury. Meanwhile, the Packers' offensive coordinator and LaFleur will have to adapt quickly. They have other options at wide receiver, sure, but the team's identity often hinges on their ability to stretch the field and make explosive plays. Christian Watson, once he's fully recovered, will be a vital piece of that puzzle, but he's still in recovery mode. The rookies, Wicks and Williams, are promising but still unproven at the NFL level. This puts a spotlight on the remaining veterans and the coaching staff's ability to scheme around these injuries. It's also worth mentioning that the Packers have a history of resilience. They've dealt with injuries before and have often relied on their depth and coaching acumen to overcome adversity. Aaron Rodgers might be gone, but the team is still trying to find its new identity and build around young talents like Reed. If he's sidelined longer than expected, it will surely test their adaptability and depth at the position. But let's not forget the bigger picture. The Packers are still a team with high expectations. The NFC North is shaping up to be competitive, with teams like the Vikings, Lions, and Bears all looking to challenge for supremacy. The Packers have an eye on that division crown and a potential playoff run, and every injury, every setback, can influence their trajectory. The coaching staff, especially LaFleur and the medical team, will do everything they can to get Reed back on the field as soon as possible, but they're also wary of rushing him and risking a more serious injury. This situation also raises questions about how the team will handle their wide receiver core as the season approaches. Will they bring in a veteran to fill the void if Reed's injury lingers? Or will they rely more heavily on the other young receivers and evolving playmakers? Whatever the case, it's clear that the next few weeks are crucial. The Packers need to stay healthy, get their key players back on the field, and continue building chemistry. Looking ahead, fans are naturally anxious, but there's also a sense of hope. The team has shown resilience before, and with players like Christian Watson working his way back and the rookies stepping up, the offense can still be productive. The coaching staff's ability to adapt and get the most out of their players will be vital in this period of uncertainty. And remember, sometimes injuries open opportunities for new players to shine, and maybe even for some of the younger guys to get more reps and experience early on. Now, as we wait for official updates from the team, the biggest question on everyone's mind is just how serious Reed's injury is. Will he be able to return soon, or is this a longer-term issue? The team's medical staff is undoubtedly working around the clock to diagnose and treat his injury, and will be watching closely for any news. LaFleur will be asked about it during media sessions, and I'm sure he'll emphasize that they're taking a cautious approach. That's the smart move, especially with the season right around the corner. In terms of the overall impact, if Reed does miss some games, it could shift the dynamic of the Packers' offense. But it's also an opportunity for other players to step up and showcase their talents. The team's depth chart at wide receiver might get tested, but that's part of football. It's a game of resilience, adaptation, and staying ready for whatever comes next. For the fans, it's about staying optimistic and trusting that the coaching staff and players will do everything possible to minimize the impact of this injury. So, in the end, while the news about Reed in the walking boot is concerning, it's not the end of the world. The Packers have a talented roster, a strong coaching staff, and a history of overcoming adversity. But it's definitely a developing story, and we'll be keeping a close eye on how this unfolds in the coming days. Will Reed bounce back quickly? Will the team find new ways to succeed without him? That's what makes this preseason so intriguing. Every practice, every game is a piece of the puzzle, and the Packers are determined to put it all together for another shot at greatness. And now, Green Bay Packers fans, I want to hear from you. What's your take on this injury situation? Do you think Reed will recover quickly, or are you worried about how this might affect the team's offense? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Your opinion matters so much to us and to the Green Bay Packers. And don't forget, I'll be back soon with more updates, so stay tuned for the latest Green Bay Packers news. Remember to like and share this video with your fellow fans. Let's keep the conversation going and stay united in our support for the Packers. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Pack Go!